All right. Thank you guys for being here today. Excited to be with you to bring another week of our small business resilience and recovery webinar series. So really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this, to be with us today. It's exciting to be able to dive into this and continue to work on how do we develop more resilient and more resistant to problems as far as our businesses go. So you'll have to forgive if you can see the video that I'm in. I have a little bit of a sun spot here coming through the window, so I apologize for the positioning, but we'll make do because the stuff that's important is going to be the stuff on the screen here. So like every week, I do want to take a minute to just kind of walk through. This week's webinar is going to be around customer service basics. So we're going to touch some on online. We're going to touch a little bit on brick and mortar and what kinds of things you should be thinking through as an owner to your business. What kind of customer service do you offer? How does that customer service ultimately impact and help you, or even potentially hurt you? Hopefully we're gonna be able to dive into all of that, just like we have the last few weeks that we've done this. So I'm Geoff Zentz. I'm the Indiana director for gBETA here in Indianapolis. I work for a company called Generator, and we're partnering with the Indiana Small Business Development Center to run this series that's going to happen every Friday going forward until March. So we'd love to have you. Each week is going to be a different topic. We'd love to have you join us each week, dive into the things that you are interesting for your business and the ways that we can help kind of support. I also am fortunate enough to be the person who's giving this week's webinar as well. So we'll dive into that here in a little bit. But each week on Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, invite anybody that you've got that runs a small business that could benefit from this. It can be a really impactful thing. And so we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be here for that each week. So as I said, this is going to run through March. It's part of the ISBDC's Small Business Resiliency and Recovery Training Series. So the goal of this is to help kind of work through the basics of what each small business should do to be resilient and recover from something like COVID-19. And hopefully we don't have something like that happen in the future, but if we do, how to best be prepared so it doesn't impact our business in a negative way. So with that all being said, I don't have to introduce anybody because I'm the guy talking today. So let's dive right in. So customer service as a whole. First things first, I think it's important that I kind of lay the groundwork so you know who I am and why I'm here talking to you about customer service. So my experience kind of starts in the sales world. I did inside sales for a musical instrument wholesale company for a while before transitioning to customer service. And customer service is really where I found kind of my niche. It's the thing that I feel most comfortable with. It's the thing that I love talking about, and I really enjoy being able to make an impact on customers and make customers for life. After leaving that musical instrument wholesale company, I got to move on to a company out of Greenwood, Indiana, called One Click Ventures. I got to be the director of customer happiness for that company. And I got to experience that company making it through growing and scaling to the point that they were acquired by Foster Grant, which is a huge company in the eyewear industry. They're actually, Foster Grant is even owned by Essilor, which is an even bigger company in the eyewear industry. And we're going to talk through here later today, we're going to talk through some real life examples from those days to kind of talk about why customer service was so important and what it did to kind of allow us to set ourselves apart. From there, I've moved on to another position, kind of leading the client success and customer service team for a venture-backed company out of the Bay Area. And then from there, I ended up getting the opportunity to join Generator and working with small businesses and startups with that company. So that's a little bit of level setting before we get into the topic. So what we are going to do now is get into what we're here to talk about. So I put up this fun graphic because I think everybody that starts a business, whether it be a high growth venture backable startup or a brick and mortar shop, or anything in between, I think the ultimate goal is that you can have a product and a service that literally you can be like this person with a net that you're just running around capturing money because you're doing so well and everybody is loving your product, loving what you're offering, and you are just literally just catching money out of the air, and it's amazing. And I think that's everybody's dream. But what I often find when I talk to founders or owners is that they often start feeling a little bit more like this, where they've got, you know, a phone in one hand, a computer in another. They're trying to kind of put out fires or work on things. And before they even know it, they end up in this spot where they're overwhelmed. They have all this stuff that's kind of on their plate that is not really the core business or the core reason they got into running a business. And they're frustrated and they're exhausted and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to go. And oftentimes they are bogged down with things that feel very menial or insignificant. Things like emails coming in from customers or social media or whatever it may be, and things that aren't really moving, or they don't feel like they're moving their business forward all that much, but they take up a lot of time and they take the owner's focus away from where they want to be. And so one of those pieces that often comes up with small businesses and startups is customer service being that thing that is eating up a lot of time and not helping their business in a tangible way. It is helping their business, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but it doesn't feel like it's helping their business, and so therefore it can be really frustrating. So before we get in there, let's kind of define, what does customer service mean? So customer service is the assistance and advice provided by a company to the people who buy or use its products or services. Really simple. I'm sure you all are listening to this going, okay, Geoff, I get it. Yeah, I knew what customer service was. Don't tell me something I already know. But I think one thing that's easy to do with customer service is it's easy to end up in a spot where you feel like customer service is wider than it really is. And so this is a great place to just kind of touch on that it's literally the assistance and advice that your company provides to the people who buy or use its products. And it's helpful to have that because we're going to talk about things that we're going to be able to do with that in a little bit. So something else we need to understand at the outfront is, what is a customer service channel? So a customer service channel is the method in which a customer communicates with a company. That can be in person, that can be online, that can be social media, that can be regular mail, that can be text message, that can be video. I'm sure, honestly, that at this point, for people that are way cooler than I am, there's probably even TikTok or something along those lines as far as social media apps that are being used for customer service. And I'm betting that there's probably a company out there that leverages that service through TikTok to make an impact. What we need to know is that any way a customer can contact you is considered a customer service channel. But if you're sitting there like most people that I get to work with you're saying, okay, but that's a ton of stuff. Like, I don't have the ability or the capacity to handle any of that, or all of that at least. Am I expected to? And so what we're going to talk about is, no, you're not expected to. But one of the biggest mistakes that I see small businesses make is they don't actively put thought around the customer service part. And so the customer service ends up being dictated by their customers rather than by the owners. And it can cause a lot of challenges and be very frustrating. And so what we're going to do today is talk through some of that level setting and expectation setting. We're going to talk about some great examples as far as companies and how they use the customer service channels to give good customer service. We're going to talk a little bit about brick and mortar and how you handle customer service in a face-to-face front as well. And then we're going to wrap up with a little bit of a case study that is going to be my experience with that company out of Greenwood, One Click Ventures, with one of our brands to talk about kind of why that we were successful giving good customer service and what it resulted in for us. So where do I start? That's the great question. And so we're going to try to break this down into 3 really easy steps that are going to help us get a foundation. So first, let's determine how our customers are currently contacting us. Are they emailing? Are they calling? Is that call going to someone's cell phone or to a work number? Are they direct messaging through social media? Are they sending letters via USPS or carrier pigeon? Are they coming into your shop directly? Or are you not hearing from customers at all? Hint, if you are not hearing from customers at all, that's not a good thing. Your customers have an opinion of what's going on with your business, regardless of whether or not you're hearing them. And we're going to get to here in a little bit talking about why it's important that you are hearing from your customers, whether that's good news or bad news, and how it can really impact your business in the long run, and how important it is overall. But as we're kind of thinking through how are our customers contacting us, it's really important to be aware of what is currently going on in your business. Because if you haven't thought through these steps of how is a customer going to contact me, it's likely that the customers have already kind of trained themselves on how they want to contact you. And it's important that you balance between how does your customer want to contact you and how are you capable of helping your customer. It's a balancing act that we need to do, and it's important that you are aware of those things when it comes to going through the process here. So first, identifying how are your customers currently contacting you. Next up, let's determine how we'd like our customers to contact us. So if we evaluate what our customers are currently doing, we then need to look at what are we capable of doing? What are we able to? Your customers, and the reason we're going to talk about the 3 big names at the bottom of this slide, is your customers do not expect you to handle every customer service channel on the market, but they do expect you to give them great service through the customer service channels that you use. So let's talk about these 3 examples here. Zappos is kind of the quintessential customer service centered company. So as you see, even their logo says powered by service. These guys have everything going on. They've got, I'm willing to bet, I haven't tested it, but I'm willing to bet they probably have a way of handling even TikTok service. But they have every customer service channel that I could find that I've ever been a part of available to their customers. So they've got phone, they've got email, they've got chat, they've got social media, they've got, you know, I think at the end of the day, you name it, you can get a hold of Zappos through that message, however you want to and however you feel comfortable messaging them. Now, Zappos got a huge customer service team. They're a big company. They are able to hire and staff a customer service specific department. And you know, we all don't have that ability. So I want to give other examples that we may not necessarily recognize, but I think are important to call out. Amazon. Amazon does not have the ability to call them directly. You can hunt and find a number, but it really is not their core competency, and they don't want you to contact that way. And so they actually make it difficult for you to do. They also don't want you to chat or use social media. You actually, whether or not you recognize it or not, you not only use email to contact them, but you actually use their company specific portal to do so. Now, I know that it gets fed to your personal email and you can respond out of there. But the truth is, if you got into your Amazon account, it actually is all being sent through the Amazon messaging system. So they not only are hooking it up to your email, but they're actually making it so you're messaging them through their specific proprietary system. This works really well for them. They give great level of service through it. But it's an example of how we don't necessarily, I don't hear anybody complain about the service they get from Amazon on the whole. But Amazon is a very specific targeted way of contacting them. And so I use this example a lot when I'm talking to small businesses and startups, because it's a great example of probably the biggest company in the world does not allow you to call them or chat them or use social media. They make you use one specific form of service, and they take care of you through it and do a really nice job of it, but it's still very limited compared to a lot of other people out there. So that's to give you all hope that you don't have to have all the customer service channels open in order to give great customer service. If you just pick the ones that you can manage and do it in a great way, your customers will be okay with it. Nordstrom is the last example I've got up here, and Nordstrom is, again, known for their service, but they actually go the opposite way. They don't want you to email them at all. You can find an info@Nordstrom email address, but they want you to either live chat or call their team. They want to handle your customer service issue immediately, right in the moment. And again, they have the ability and the staffing to do so, but it's just another example of what we would think would be an easy thing, which is accepting email. They try to limit because they would rather give the service that they want to give through a live channel, like calling on the phone or talking on chat. So these are great examples, I think, in my opinion, of showing everybody kind of where the customer service channels are less important than the service that you're given through those channels. And so I think it's a great example to kind of set the stage and say, hey, you don't have to have everything available to your customers in order to give great service. You just need to give great service to what you tell your customers you're going to take care of them on. The third thing that we're going to do after we take a look at how our customers are contacting us and then how we'd like our customers to contact us is that we are going to define what level of service we want to guarantee to customers. So this is where we get into things like, hold on, how long should each customer wait for a response for each channel? When are we open or closed? Is it when our business is open or closed? Do we have different hours? Do we respond after hours? What does great customer service look like in your industry? If you're in a retail store, you're going to have different expectations from your customer than if you were in a wholesale or maybe a business-to-business type of store. And then lastly is, how do you correct problems and fix issues? These are things that every business owner, whether it is a small business, a brick and mortar store, a restaurant, anybody like that, you should think through all of these things to make sure that you have a strategy for how it's going to happen. You don't have to, and we'll talk through some specific examples from my experience here in a minute, but you don't have to be unreasonable with the level of service that you're going to give your customers. But I would say that it's really important that you communicate with your customers what level of service they should expect, and then you come through on it. One of the biggest threads I've learned in my customer service years is that being receptive and open to your customers and understanding what their expectations are, but then also being willing to communicate with your customers and come through for them on what you've communicated with them is almost as important as what you actually do for them in the long run. And so part of the reason that we're talking about this today is that really putting some focus in front of those customer service problems that you could potentially have is really important to being able to make it so those customer service issues don't overwhelm you in the long run. So this seems like something that I'm either too early for or isn't really that important. Why should I care about it right now? And I think this is a really valid question, especially if you're a business that you're not hearing a lot of negative things from your customers, or you may not have too many problems to deal with. It's kind of like, why should I care? And so we're going to talk through a couple examples here of why you should care. So the first, customer feedback is the lifeblood of an organization. There's no better way to figure out what you're doing well and what you're weak on, or what you have an opportunity to do better, than listening to your customers. I think that is one of the most basic things that we can do as a business leader, as an owner, as a department head, whatever that looks like. That customer feedback is the thing that tells you, am I going the right direction or am I not? And that's why, even back to that slide I had earlier, that we need to make sure that if we're not hearing from customers, it's likely not a good thing. It's likely that they're probably not communicating with us because they've either had a bad experience or they don't know how to communicate with us. And we want to get that out so we can make it better. Customer service is the number one place that you're going to receive that feedback. So if you have an email on your website, you're going to hear from customers if they have a problem, or if they need something, or if they wish they would have had a different experience. And it's really important that you have the ability to take that feedback and then have an action plan to either resolve it or address it. Also, this is my favorite thing, this third bullet here. There's something in the world called the service recovery paradox that is one of my favorite things that I've ever encountered as a customer service person, which is that a customer that has a problem that you correct will actually be more loyal to your company than a customer who has never had an issue. Now, I'm not telling you to run out there and create problems for your organization, but I'm telling you that we see time and time again in the customer service world that if you handle a customer service problem and fix it for that customer, they are more likely to be a champion for your company, to give word of mouth advertising, than somebody who just had a good experience and never had a problem. And so every time that you get a negative thing from a customer, or a problem or something that you get to fix, don't forget that it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to create a loyal customer that will be your champion in the long run. And then the last thing is laying the foundation for great customer service sets the tone that your customer is the top priority for all aspects of your company. So what I mean by this is that you have an opportunity, whether you are a really early stage company or maybe a well-established organization, you have an opportunity to lay the foundation that says we are going to be founded on great customer service, and we're going to expect that our customers leave satisfied, and we want to make champions out of our customers. And so by laying that foundation, especially at an early stage in your company, even if you think it's too early, it allows everything else that you've built for the company in the future to be laid on that foundation, and that customer service is going to make a huge impact in your organization. And we'll talk about here in a second a case study that shows that is actually something that I've experienced on my end. So what I've talked about here is largely kind of online, or at least kind of social media based. And so one thing I wanted to make sure I touched on for our group today is, what do I do if my business is brick and mortar based? What if I don't have an online presence? What if I don't have e-commerce? And so a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So the basics remain the same. These 3 points here, and we're going to dig into them a little bit more in detail, but how you treat your customers will determine your success overall. If you don't treat customers well, or if you don't have a priority on them, you're going to have an uphill battle to fight. And so, figuring out how you're going to treat them is going to be an important step. And then developing a plan for how your customer or how your company and your employees will treat customers and setting the standard of that. And then the third thing is going to be empowering your teammates to go over and above for your customers. If we can do those 3 things, it's going to be really helpful. But let's dig in first to how you treat your customers affects your overall success. So one thing that is relatively well accepted to being true is that retaining customers, existing customers, retaining them is more cost effective than acquiring new customers. So keeping a customer that's already purchased from you or already bought from you is more cost effective, and it pays higher dividends for the company as a whole, rather than having to go out and attract new customers to the business. Word of mouth is also one of the most effective methods of advertising for small businesses. So, we talked last week, Cole, my counterpart, talked about marketing and, how to get the biggest bang for your buck as far as, what you're doing to advertise. Well, taking care of your customers can be one of the easiest ways to get great advertising. Because that customer will tell somebody else, that will tell somebody else, that will move down the path. And as we all know from the social media world that we live in, bad service and negative experiences tend to spread like wildfire and keep people away from businesses. So it's really important that we have the ability to go after those things up front and really take care of customers, because they're going to spread the word about your business, maybe even more than you do. And then the last thing is that my favorite thing, the service recovery paradox applies to in-person situations as much as online. So these are going to be the same kinds of things. If they have a bad experience or if they have a problem, if you have the ability to fix it, you are going to make an impact on those businesses or on those customers, and they are going to then make an impact on your business. So next, develop your plan for customer service. Is the customer always right? I know the cliche is that the customer is always right. And if that's the attitude that your company is going to accept, great. I fully support it. I think it's a great method to have. But if you are not going to say the customer is always right, how do you determine when you're fixing something and when you're not able to? You need to have some guidelines around, okay, when do we side with the customer and handle that problem, and when don't we? I would caution you, even though I put this in my deck, I don't necessarily think there are a whole lot of good reasons that you wouldn't fix problems that your company creates, or that your product creates, or that your service creates. I think, in my experience, siding with the customer and going out of your way to try to make a bad situation better always plays out to being a net positive for your organization. Even if that means that you might lose money on that transaction, you may gain more in the long run. And so that's one of those things that if you're going to balance those two out, be very careful on balancing them, because really taking care of the customer is so important, and it really makes such a big difference in your business's bottom line. Second, show empathy. So often customers just want to feel heard. There were a lot of times as a leader of a department that handled a lot of conversations with customers. Often it had very little to do with actually fixing the issue, and more about listening to them and validating the feelings that they had. You aren't always dealing with somebody who's frustrated with you or your business. They may have had a bad day outside. They might have had a bad day at work. They may have had something happen in their lives, and this was just the final straw that set them off. Be empathetic and listen to them. because it makes a big difference in the long run if you have shown that customer that you understand why they feel that way and you want to make a difference in it and still fix their issue, but also hear them and validate their feelings. And then the last piece, and this is one thing that can feel very uncomfortable at first, but engage the customer in the solution. You don't have to just go, here's a new one or whatever that is. You can ask them, hey, I'm sorry that this has happened. What do you like? What are you looking for? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do exactly what the customer is asking you to do, but it does allow you to understand what they feel like it takes to make something right. Now, I want to put this caveat in there that I have been in situations with customers where I've asked them what they want, and they want me to give them their money back and pay them more. At the end of the day, you have to make the call on whether or not that makes sense for you and you want to do that. But typically, making somebody whole is the lowest common denominator to fixing a problem. So I tend to say that they shouldn't make a profit on a mistake that we made. And so like giving them their money back or giving them a new product or whatever that is would be making them whole in that situation. And there are occasions that you're going to encounter people that are asking for more than you're able to do. And sometimes you just have to say, I can't do that. Or, and that's okay. But I do think on the whole, engaging with those customers and asking them what they think is the right solution is always a helpful piece to understand where they're at. And then the third piece that we talked about was empower your teammates to give your customer the best. So I'm sure that there's a wide variety of folks as far as the stage that your business is in here. And so this goes across the board, but it's also meant to kind of help you scale as you continue to be successful and have more customers and add more teammates and whatever that looks like. Is that once you've developed the plan for how your company is going to handle customers and work with their problems and solve the issues that come up, make sure you communicate it to your team. Make sure they understand that, hey, this is the standard that we're setting for our company. This is what we want customers to feel like when they leave. This is what we want to make sure that we do in situations that happen that are less than ideal. And this is how we want to make sure they're taken care of. Make sure you have communicated how important that customer service is. It's so easy for, even at one level down from the owner, you may not be able to communicate to whoever's running the register that day or whoever's working with the customer that day. They may not understand that, a smile on your face and a giving them kind of a positive experience is paramount to what we're trying to build as a company. Make sure you communicate that with your company and the teammates that you bring on. And then the third thing, and this is sometimes challenging, but I think it's really important, is that give your teammates the ability to make things right. Don't create I have to ask the manager culture if you don't have to. Obviously, there are situations in which you probably should be having your team consult with you before making a decision. But if on the whole, you give them the ability to, hey, make this right. Don't worry about it. You don't have to ask me. I trust your judgment. Take care of the customer. If you're able to give them that kind of power and support to make sure that the customer is taken care of, your team will take care of your customers. And your customers will become repeat customers that will tell others about your business, and that your business will grow. I've seen it happen time and time again, that giving up a little bit early in order to make something right leads to long-term gains and long-term success. So with that being said, let's dive into a little bit of a use case, okay? So Readers.com is one of the brands that my old employer, One Click Ventures, owns. And so Readers.com was a company that was founded and the ownership came out with straight away, had a clear vision for the core values that their company was going to stand for. And so as you can see, there are 10 core values here, but I've highlighted the 6 that I think really laid the groundwork to make what we did and why we were the customer happiness team versus a customer service team so important. And so those 6 were: people matter most, create customer happiness, act like an owner, open and effective communication, never settle, and honesty and integrity in all we do. So to give you some background, our typical customer was in the 40 to 65-year-old range. We skewed slightly female, so we were about 60% female, 40% male. They were not especially tech savvy, and they were often easily frustrated by websites. Now, this presents a challenge because we were Readerscom. We did not have a brick and mortar location. We were an online shopping experience for the most part only. We did have some occasional exceptions to that, but for the most part, the customer had to place an order online. And so one of the things that kind of plays into this, though, is that we had to listen to our customers to kind of understand how to allow them to contact us. So the first thing and the most basic thing that we started out with was phone. And the phone number, we had an 800 number to call our customer service team. We made sure, and we'll talk about here in a second, kind of the service levels that we guaranteed. Email was quickly after that. I didn't put them in order here. I apologize for that. So email was the second channel that we had open. And then we realized that people were trying to call us outside of our normal business hours. And so we opened up voicemail next, and then chat, social media came next. And traditional mail was always kind of mixed in there because we had a customer base that still felt comfortable writing letters or sending in. So we made sure we had ideas for being able to accept and work with a traditional mail version of communication as well. So here were the service levels that we decided on for our customers. So the phone, when we were open, which was 9 to 6 every day of the week, Monday through Friday, with Saturdays and Sundays off, if we were open, we would answer live within 30 seconds. So we knew that some benchmarking within our industry and the online world was really important, that we had the ability to answer live right away. 30 seconds was the thing to make sure that our customers knew that when we were there, we were able to handle them. Voicemails, if they left a voicemail after we were gone, we would make sure that we responded to that voicemail the very next day. That was a non-negotiable. We made sure that we responded. Email. If you emailed our team before 5 p.m. that same day, we would respond that same day before we left. Even if it came in at 4:59, we would make sure that we responded before we left for the day. Anything that came after 5 p.m. would get a response the very next day. And that was, again, non-negotiable. We made sure we had that taken care of. Chat, when the chat was open, which was the same time that the phones, 9 a.m. to 6, we would answer the chats that come in live within 10 seconds. Difference between the phone and the chat was that a person that was handling the chat line could communicate with multiple people at the same time versus the person on the phone could only be on the phone one person at a time. And so that's why the chat live answer was much shorter than the phone. Social media was the same as email. So anything before 5 p.m. that same day would get a same day response. And then anything after 5 p.m. would get responded to the following day. And then traditional mail, it was really important for us that if we got traditional mail in, we would respond the day of receipt. That's because it was really important that they kind of got priority because of the transit time that takes. So it took a couple days to get to us. It was really important that we could turn that traditional mail around the same day because it would take a couple days to get back to the customer. Again, trying to stay focused on what their experience was as a whole overall. One thing to call out though is that as our demographic began to change, the customer channels changed as well. So as we got a younger group of people, or a more tech savvy group of people that hit that 40 to 45-year-old range that started needing reading glasses, they were way more tech savvy than some of our other customers. And so they began to use our email and our chat service way more than our phone. So we saw the phone level decrease and our email and chat volume increase. So it was really important that we were sensitive to that. We're willing to see that going on, and we're able to change the way we took care of our customers to respond to what the customers preferred. Because at the end of the day, we made the decision to be able to service all of those things. And so we needed to be able to be fluid in those moments that things changed in order to take care of our customers. That being said, what we said earlier about selecting your channels that you're going to take care of customers, if you only are handling phone, or if phone's the only way that you're going to let them communicate with you, the expectation would not be to open a new channel unless you felt like that was important for your business as a whole. And so you've got to stay connected with your customers to really understand whether or not that was important or not. Also, we saw social media contact rise, as you would expect, because the more tech savvy person is going to be more comfortable with social media. And then obviously traditional mail decreased a lot during our time working with scaling that business. But as a whole, that foundation that our owners set the example for allowed us to really take ownership over how we were going to take care of our customers. So we established a culture of a company that put the customer first in all the things that we did. And it was really important that they left feeling taken care of, valued. And so you can see in our numbers, we had a 94% customer satisfaction score. This was customers that would respond to our survey and tell us how satisfied they were with the service they got from our team. 94% is an elite service class. We had a 67 NPS score. So NPS is Net Promoter Score. This is the email that you get that says, how likely are you to suggest our company to your friends and family? And you give a 0 to 10. So NPS is the overall score, can be anything from negative 100 to positive 100. I don't have enough time to get into that today, but if you ever want to dig into NPS, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk NPS scores. But we were a 67 on that 200-point scale, which is an elite level of Net Promoter Score. Our customers loved to tell other people that they should buy from us. We had a 93% first contact resolution rate. And I was especially proud of this because that meant that on that first contact that somebody would reach out to us, we would take care of their issue. They wouldn't have to get a call back. They wouldn't have to deal with any kind of running around or, I'll have to check with a manager and get back with you. It was just, we took care of them right off the bat. And all of that led to a 59% repeat purchase rate, which meant our customers consistently came back to us multiple times to purchase. And that all led to, in the last year I was there, over $20 million in annual revenue for pairs of glasses that had an average cost of right around $15 to $17 a piece. That's a lot of glasses being sold, especially when you think about you can buy reading glasses at CVS or Costco or Walmart. It was really special to have that level of engagement from a customer base. And selfishly, I like to credit that to the fact that the company was built on customer service and taking care of the customer and making sure they're happy and taken care of. And so the bottom line is that setting the standard for customer service today helps you set the tone that your company is customer focused. Having a customer focus is so important to the overall longevity of a company. You look at how many companies make their whole living on just taking care of a customer. There are some wild customer service stories out there about customer-centric companies doing things like even taking products back and giving customers refunds for products they've never even sold. I'm not saying you need to go that far, but having that kind of customer-focused approach is really important to the overall health and well-being of your company. Great customer service equals long-time happy customers. And then finally, happy customers equals growth, prosperity, and success in your business. And I think it's so important to laying that foundation for customer service ultimately sets companies up for success. So with that being said, I don't believe we've got any questions come through today. So I will leave us there. You can see here, my email address is jeff@generator.com. If anybody wants to talk customer service, if you need help, if you need advice, if you need just somebody to, I might even respond to an email or two for you. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to have that conversation. I love getting to work with Generator because it allows me to put a bunch of different hats on. Doing that for anybody that wants to have that chat, I'd love to have that conversation. And then lastly, and last plug of the week, StayInBiz.org is the Indiana Small Business Development Center resource page. There you can learn all about upcoming webinars, financing options for COVID relief. You can learn about Project Hope that we talked about last week. All of those things the links are available right there at StayInBiz.org. And again, as usual, feel free to reach out to me or any of our speakers. We're always happy to help in any way that we can. And looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Our final, not our final, we're doing these every week through March. Next week, we're going to be talking through crisis management and disaster planning. So please come back. We'd love to see you. We appreciate everybody being here today, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.